is pursuing like a double major in art and animation and social media marketing. So she's done, she makes money, selling her art and commissions. It can be, you're basically a freelancer at that point where, you're working, when the job comes in. So you certainly need to have a plan, for your money. Whether it's, you have a typical 9-to-5 job or whether you're freelancing and producing your own, art or content. One of the things that I like to think about for an artist is, I know even with my daughter, she does commissions. So she'll set a price, $25, $30 for a particular drawing or painting. But it's a one-off, right? It's personalized for that person. You get paid for it, and then it's done, and then you have to move on to the next one. I like to think of it for an artist or any creator. What could you do that you could do the work once and then get paid, multiple times, residual income? Yeah. So maybe it's, creating a painting that you could then have prints made up that you could sell, multiple times, or even a book. You think of a book, right? You do a lot of the work up front for a book, but then it gets sold multiple times. And so you don't have to go back and you're not working again. You're basically just promoting the book and trying to sell the book. Yeah. So I think looking at residual income, ideas as an artist is a good technique to look at. So you're not just always chasing, the next commission or, one-off piece.
Yeah, that's great. Yes. Us artists have to remember that. We can make money doing it, and there's certain ways you can, and those are very good ways to keep in mind, for sure. And then invest the money. Don't blow it. You can reward yourself.
Right. Well, and that's just having that, like I said, having that budget, knowing, all right, I have a certain amount of income and, I have a certain amount of fixed expenses, whether it's rent or, car or food. And then, what do I have left for, entertainment or vacations, things like that.
And I'm sure that, obviously your kids are a lot more aware. Have they all had to take jobs?
Yeah, so they've it's been a good learning experience for them because we've involved them and they've seen the failure that mom and dad made and how we've overcome that. So yeah, it's been a good experience for them. They all work, save money, manage their bank account, have debit cards, no credit cards, no debt. We have, out of the 3 kids, there's 2 cars, all paid for in cash.
Nice.
So yeah, they're on a good early path. So I think, what we've talked about over the years with them is, in the back of their mind, and so far so good. They're making good choices and, earning their own money and managing it pretty well.
I'm sure there's had to be points, I don't know if this has happened, where friends want to go out and do something and have they ever had to say, well, no, I can't do it today because, it's not in my budget? Has that happened?
I don't know if I've ever heard them say not in my budget, but there's been certain times when they've, have not gone out or, maybe if friends are going out to eat and then to a movie, maybe they only go to the movie, only spend, half of the money on an outing, things like that. Right. But I know they've, my son and my older son and daughter have seen some of their friends already get into credit card debt, buying, video games and sneakers and things like that on credit and then paying minimum payment. So I know they've mentioned to me a few times about, friends with $1,000 worth of credit card debt and, struggling to pay it off because they've, they lost their part-time job or something like that. So they're certainly aware and they're of what some of their other, their friends are doing and what to avoid, so far.
Hopefully their friends will take their advice and check out your website, really. It's just what, here I'm thinking some artists just don't want to talk about their finances. And most people in general, it's just, why don't we want to talk about money more? What do you think?
Well, I think it's because it's very personal, right? When we realized we were in $100,000 worth of credit card debt, and really had nothing to show for it. And we were embarrassed, you know, we were like, we had done something wrong. So initially we didn't really talk about it much, but then we realized it was good to talk about it because a lot of people are in similar situations, whether it's, you know, credit card debt or in over their head on a car or, you know, whatever it may be. And so I think it's just the embarrassment and the fact that there isn't a lot of teaching about it and that we're not, you know, taught about it from a young age to talk about it. So I think there's, you know, a couple different layers why we don't really discuss it.
But it's out there.
Yes. Well, we use it. You know, everybody uses money every day, so we got to kind of break that habit of not talking about it and you know, help one another.
Absolutely. Now when this episode drops for November, and the holidays are approaching, and people are going to be spending money on gifts. Do you advise people to have some kind of a conscious spending plan for their gifts?
Oh, yeah, certainly. I think, you know, having a plan, you know, writing down, you know, how much you're planning on spending on, you know, the immediate family or extended family or friends. So that way you can stay, you know, within budget. And then I think it's, you know, Thanksgiving is probably, you know, when a lot of families get together. And so it's a good discussion to have to say, look, you know, we're trying to get out of debt, or we only have, you know, $500 to spend on gifts this year. I think if you broker that conversation with family and friends, I think you'll be surprised to hear that they're in similar situations and they're looking to save, you know, not spend as much. So it's really just starting with the conversation to set expectations with anybody that you're looking to buy gifts for.
Good to know. Just don't go crazy.
Right. And then have a plan, right? Because if you just walk into, you know, a store or a mall or hit Amazon without having a plan, you can quickly overspend. You know, if you don't have a gift in mind or a price range in mind, you can very easily, you know, few clicks, add them to your cart, and next thing you know, you're spending more money than you expected.
I know it's a lot of people, parents, they just want to have the best for their kids, but keep that in mind first. You know, don't break the bank. There's no reason to. The kids will. Somebody gives, you know, they get the gift and look at it and put it to the side anyway. But I'm sure they'll be appreciative no matter what they get. You know, that's the mindset. Let's see. Scarcity mindset was something I was thinking of. I mean, was that ever any issue when you were growing up? But I'm sure you've seen it in others.
Yeah, not really for us. I mean, I'm the youngest of five. So, you know, my mom and dad both worked, and, you know, they didn't make a ton of money, but they made it work. And we always had a good, you know, a nice Christmas, plenty of gifts. My dad used to, you know, I think before side hustles was a thing, he used to work, we called them side jobs. You know, he would do some side jobs to bring in extra money, you know, throughout the year for, you know, I remember for like vacations or Christmas, things like that. So he was, you know, way ahead of his time. He was side hustling before there were side hustles. So, yeah, so that was, you know, looking back, it was interesting to see some of the things that they did to, you know, make sure they had, you know, our family had everything that we needed. And I don't think we ever, you know, it was just the big change in how we were spending our money and our behaviors with our money that was was scary, you know, early on, but then it got easier as as we went along.
Having a plan.
Yeah.
That's it. Gotta play some offense, not defense.
Yes.
So, where can people connect with you?
You can find me on the website. I actually have two. So it's Debt Discipline, and then I have brianbrandow.com. You can find me, you know, links are on there for Twitter, and that's really my main social platform is Twitter. So yeah, any one of those sites and Twitter are good spots to find me.
And during a pandemic like this, what's the best thing we could do our finances is obviously an emergency fund. If they didn't have one, it's not going to.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're several months in now. People, job losses, things like that. Obviously, if you didn't have an emergency fund, then it's just really looking at your current expenses and what can you cut, right? And I think the thing you have to keep in mind is that it may only be short term, right? It may only be for a couple months or 6 months or a year. That it's not forever, but maybe it's cable television or streaming services or gym membership or whatever it may be. Any extras that you can cut out of the budget to save money, you got to cover your necessities, your rent, your mortgage, your food, your electric. Those are the top priorities, and you want to make sure those are covered. And then anything else that's extra, for the time being, you may have to really eliminate to survive until your income increases, or you get back on your feet, whether you've been experiencing a health issue in these times. So but yeah, I think it's an emergency, right? We're in crazy times, emergency times, so you may have to make some drastic cuts to survive. And that was kind of our mindset throughout paying off our debt was, this is a short-term sacrifice for the long-term goal, right? So it's going to be tough for a couple of years, but once we're done, things are going to get a lot better. And we saw that. We saw the change and getting rid of the debt, and it really, things were a lot different for us after.
Yes, I think in the Total Money Makeover, he had that. What is it? Live now like nobody else, so you can live like nobody else later on. Something.
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah. So it's really, just you have to make those, sacrifices short term, but the long term goal or the long term, accomplishment will be, that much better for you. And I think that's what people sometimes, they don't want to make the short term sacrifice. They don't want to give up their Starbucks coffee every day, or they don't want to give up eating out, once a week or whatever it may be, because it's too inconvenient. But if that makes things better for you in a year or 2 years down the road, then it may be worth it.
You gotta get rid of that YOLO mindset. You only live once. But you're gonna keep living, and that's gonna still be there. Would you rather have it or not? All right, and you just need some discipline. Ha ha ha. And I'll ask you the question. I mean, finances, but you're a creative type. I'll ask you the final question I ask everybody. Why does art matter?
Well, I think it's just, like you said, the creative types. I initially had started when I was younger, drawing, and I wasn't very good at it. And so I leaned towards more writing and producing, content as compared to, drawing or painting. I think everybody has a little bit of creative, streak in them. And obviously today there's a lot different ways that you can pursue it, right? Here we are on a podcast, right? You can start a blog. You can, put photos up on Instagram. So there's a lot of different ways that you can be creative. So, and I love just watching, short little videos that make me laugh, that kind of take me away, from maybe having a bad day. I know I can go watch a kitten falling off a chair, or, a dog, whatever it may be. So I think it's important that we continue to, keep the creative art, all the different forms of it out there. So, because I think it helps, keep people sane, and I think it's just a great outlet, I think, for anybody.
You could be creative with your finances too.
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes you have to be.
For sure. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be on my show, Brian. It's great to connect with you and talk with you. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Thanks, Alex. No, I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here, and thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on the show, Brian. It was great reconnecting with you and hearing your story. It's so important that it's shared and people can see how things can get out of control, but there are solutions with your finances. Like I said, we all deal with money.